All right then. Right, so welcome to round 3, Tier 3, Season 15 of ALR's GT7 Championship. Heading into this round, Eroticos is the man with the championship lead, but everyone is pretty close behind him, to be honest. So we've got Peachy up there, Mr. Revenge up there, Pyro's up there as well. Lots of different race winners so far this season. Kanata's up there as well. Let's see how qualifying's turned out then. So at the back, big shock actually for me is Peachy. Peachy qualifying in last place. Didn't have a quali ban or anything like that. That is on pace. Must have stayed on the inters, I reckon. Or just made multiple mistakes on his hot laps. So starting at the back for someone who's meant to be challenging for the championship is not great for him. Then we got Senor Fak in P15 in the Renault, where we kind of expected to see him so far this season. And then Julie Show in 14th in the McLaren. Pagel outside the top 10, I think maybe the first time this season, lining up 13th in the Mazda. Then Kanata, both BMW M6s doing pretty badly. Kanata only getting up to 12th. Both Mazdas qualifying outside the top 10 as well. So not good qualifying for Pyro there. Then we got Cameron in 10th after a poor showing last week. He'll be hoping for better this time round. He's in, what is he in? The Jaguar F-Type. Spin is lining up 9th. Anonyma is 8th, pretty decent qualifying for Anonyma there. Jezza up in 7th, that's his best qualifying since his return to Tier 3. Ethan is lining up 6th. Then we got Deco in 5th in the GR Supra. Then we got, he's called Emelike in Discord. He's called Icy here, so I guess I'll call him Icy. He's lining up 4th on his debut. Spoiler, he's actually a Tier 2 driver now. Eroticos in 3rd place, so pretty decent for our championship leader. Prime Call in 2nd in the McLaren, really solid qualifying. The McLaren's looked fast around here for sure. And then Mr. Revenge getting pole position in the GTR, so pretty decent qualifying for Mr. Revenge, getting the bonus point for pole position. So the track you'll be able to see is definitely Inter's weather, but going through, we got Mr. Revenge on softs, Prime Call and Eroticos on Inters. Deco, Ethan, Jezza, Anonyma, Spin, Cameron are all on Inters. Pyro's gone for softs. Looks like everyone at the back's gone for softs, so expecting to see a drying track and the Inters guys having to make a pit stop at some point. But for now, they should absolutely be at the front of the pecking order come the end of the first sector, that's for sure. So potential for a lot of drivers to go off track because a lot of soft tyres there on conditions that are not suitable for them. So let's see how turn 1 looks. It's going to be a tricky one. Expect to see Prime Call and Eroticos jumping Revenge off the line. Round 3 is underway and a really bad start there for Revenge. Struggling for traction. He gets overtaken by Jezza and a lot of drivers going side by side into turn 1. Prime Call has the lead heading into turn 1. And then we've got the 2 Jags in the top 10. Looks like Anonyma's gone off track. Gifts P4 to Cameron, who started down in 10th, so great start for him. All these guys are on intermediate tyres. Spins up into 7th. Anonyma's 8th there. Revenge from 1st to 9th in just 2 corners. Then we got Peachy. He's on the softs, but he's still made up 6th position, so let's go back and see how Peachy managed that. And we'll see some carnage going on around him as well, I reckon. So lights out. Looks like he was just gentle on the throttle and he just got a better start, got a lot more traction than all these other drivers on the soft tyres. There's Mr. Revenge already, who had an absolutely terrible start compared to Peachy. And there's the Ferrari of Icy going off as well, so he had a terrible start to this race. And there we have it, Peachy up into 10th place. Where's Icy? Icy is on the softs as well, so we'll keep an eye out for him as the race unfolds. But at the front, we've already got 2 groups of cars. Prime Call with about a half a tenth lead over Eroticos at the moment. Jezza doing incredibly well here in the Lamborghini in 3rd place as well. Just ahead of Cameron, who is going side by side with his teammate, Ethan, as we head down to the first of the Degners. looks like Cameron's going to keep that position. Ethan has to slot in behind. Then we have Spin and Nonima, and then about a 4 or 5 second gap back to Mr. Revenge. You can see the track is starting to dry out though. We're nearly at the 1/3 mark on the gauge, on the water gauge, so that will mean that the tyres will start coming to the soft runners. But it looks like Jez has taken P2 on Eroticos at the hairpin there, and now he's the favourite to try and catch Prime Call. Everyone's still very close. Eroticos putting his nose in there. Looked like he bumped Jezza, and yeah, he backed out of it, and Jezza takes P2, but he's lost a little bit of ground to Prime Call, or he would have, but Prime Call makes a mistake around Spoon, and the gap is still very, very close between the entirety of the top 5. Let's ride on board with Ethan, who has a pretty good view of the cars in front. We're heading to 130R. This should be flat out in completely dry conditions, but everyone's having to brake massively for it. Jezza having to go off track completely. Now he's side by side with Eroticos as we head into the final chicane. Little bit of contact again. Cameron's trying to capitalize on this, and they're all staying out for another lap, so they think that Inters is still the right tyre to be on. Looks like Deco's dropped behind Anonyma at the end of that lap as well. Mr. Revenge is still at the head of this group of cars. Then we've got Roblox, and then Icy all the way up into 11th, so he was down in 15th after the first corner. And he's going to try and move on Peachy. The Ferrari pretty decent in the wet. Everyone has been saying that. And they managed to keep the car on the track. Looks like a little bit of contact. Peachy muscled out the way slightly there. And Icy is up into 10th. Ethan, meanwhile, has dropped back. Let's see what happened to Ethan. Just a little bit too wide on the exit of turn 1. And yeah, he's losing those positions fairly easily. So everyone's still very close together at the front. But what we need to understand is, what is Revenge up to? He is going to be catching these guys now, I reckon. We're starting to get to the crossover point where the softs, you can sort of see a dry line appearing on the track. And if he could just stay in that, not like what he's doing right now, that's actually going to let Icy close the gap massively. Icy not racing with any assist, actually. Oh no, he's got, yeah, no assist. That's the light. He might actually overtake Revenge pretty quickly here. Revenge a little bit out of sorts. Can't see if that is the fastest lap because we're only on lap 2. Even though feels like we've been going for a lot longer than just a lap and a half here. Icy's got a great run out of that corner, and let's see what Revenge does. Icy's going to stick his nose in, and Revenge is going to have the outside line, which becomes the inside line into Spoon. Icy touching the bumps there and on the entry. Oh, there we go. It was just gifted to him. Revenge is round, and that's not just going to be one position he's losing. So absolutely terrible entry into Spoon there for Revenge, and he completely spins it out, and he's down in 14th now. So that means the net race leader could potentially be Icy, who we saw have that huge mistake in turn 1. And what's going to happen at the front? Are these guys coming into the pits yet? I have a feeling they should be. Prime Call stayed out, Eroticos has come in, everyone else is coming in, it looks like, apart from Anonyma and Ethan. So they're staying out for one more lap. So what this means is they'll probably all lose time to the cars that are making their pit stop. Their tyres should be significantly faster come the end of the race, not because of where. Oh, Anonymous span it. Anonymous span it. He's down. He's behind Icy now, even. Icy really catching up quickly to Ethan, so that it's definitely dry tyres right now. The guys who've stayed out have made a big mistake here. The tyres will start overheating and wearing incredibly quickly as well. Prime Call has quite a healthy lead. Ethan's going to be holding up Icy fairly shortly. And this has worked out really great for the drivers who qualified badly. They all started on the dry tyre. And I'd say over half the grid didn't start on dries, and it's going to come back to bite them. And that's an easy overtake for Icy, up into P2 already because of the tyres on Ethan just not helping him at the moment. He's losing a lot of ground. He's struggling to make these corners. A little bit further back, we've got Peachy. We've got Pyro with a 3-second penalty somehow. No idea how that happened. Must have really cut one of the corners. Anonymous 6th, Julie 7th. Revenge, Pagel is 8th ahead of Revenge. So Revenge stuck in the lower reaches of the top 10 at the moment. Then further back we got Kanata. He did start on the softs, I think. And then we got Eroticos, who made his pit stop. He's stuck behind Kanata now, which is bad news for him. A little bit further up, Revenge and Pagel pretty close together as well. And then just ahead, Anonymous battling too. Oh, there's Pyro serving his penalty. There we go, there's Revenge. Let's see if an overtake can get done. Looks like he just took that corner really badly compared to Pagel. Pagel's really caught up to Anonymous just ahead as well. Thinking about a move, backs out of it. Now Revenge is closing back in on him again. So Icy takes the lead of the race with Prime Call coming into the pits. Let's see where Prime Call comes out. Obviously not putting in any fuel, just going for the soft tyres. Like I was saying, these soft tyres should be better for him compared to the guys who've already been doing some laps, but it looks like Prime Call's come out and he's potentially losing 10th place. There's Jezza in the Lamborghini and he just stays ahead of Jezza. Anonymous off track again, so under pressure from losing his spot in the top 10. Then we got Eroticos, who did jump Prime Call in the pits despite being stuck behind Kanata. He's got a chance of getting P7, but Kanata's driving very defensively here. A little bit further ahead you can see Pagel still holding Revenge back. So pole position for Revenge and only P6 now. But Eroticos, what can he do? It looks like Jez has actually just got past Anonymous as well there. So we're heading out of the Degners. Looks like Revenge might have a little run. Pyro might have a run on Revenge as well. It's going to be very tight into this hairpin. Pyro backs out of it. Revenge muscled his way through there. And, oh no dear. This is not good. Are they going to be able to make it? And loads and loads and loads of contact, which you don't expect to see. And it looks like Revenge got that position, but let's have a little look at the replay into the hairpin here, because he's going to completely miss his braking here and just shove Pagel out the way. That's not how you get an overtake done in GT7. Just because the car allows you to do it without braking it doesn't mean that you should be, and it is in the stewards room, so expect an outcome on that one probably tomorrow. And then he's just going to muscle his way past because he's got the inside line around that right-hander that's flat out, and he's going to take P4 for now, but that, like I said, that is in the stewards room. And then he's got Julie Show, who's up in P3. Great drive so far for Julie Show, who hasn't got a podium yet in ALR. Icy just all up on his own at the front. He set a 2:01 that lap, so pretty close to completely dry lap times. You can get to the 59s, I think, on tier 3 pace if you're right at the front, like Icy is right now. Peachy 4 seconds a lap slower, actually make that 2 seconds a lap slower on his last one. Julie Show a couple of similar pace to Peachy, and then Revenge a couple of seconds back pace wise on them because he's been barging his way through. Things have settled down a bit. Erotico's down to 11th, so what happened to him? So he's coming through Spoon. Seen lots of drivers make mistakes through Spoon, and he just, goes very wide, and he's going to lose positions here because he's lost so much time on an important part of the track where you cannot afford to lose momentum, because now he's going to lose another 2 spots. So yeah, really unfortunate there for Eroticos. A little bit further up, Prime Call, who was leading the race, made his pit stop much later than everyone else, dropped to 8th now. Of course, a lot of these drivers haven't had to make a pit stop at all. If you look at the mini-map, you can see Icy is just miles and miles and miles ahead of everybody else, including the ones that haven't had to stop. Prime Call is going purple. Like I said, his tyres should be the best at this stage of the race and for the rest of the race as well. Kanata's slowly catching up to Pyro now, and he's going purple as well, so the track is continuing to dry. You can see on the water gauge there's still little bits of water here and there, especially if you're going slightly offline. Great exit there from Kanata. He's going to close it into Pyro on the entry into Spoon and to try and move. Couldn't do anything on the entry. Carrying a lot more speed than Pyro through Spoon, but that's stopped Kanata from getting a good exit onto this back straight here, and Pyro's going to live to fight another day. Julio is catching up to Peachy by the looks of things. He's only maybe 2 or 3 seconds back, so the race for P2 looks to be on, but right at the front, another fastest lap for Icy, 2 minute 1.5, so 3 laps in a row in the 2 minute ones, absolutely dominating around these this sprint race in these conditions. Still over a second quicker, well 1.4 quicker than Peachy there, who was 0.2 slower than Julio as well. Revenge actually just set the fastest lap. He's lapping a lot quicker than Julio and has a great chance of getting a podium here. Pagel's not fallen too far back. Pagel's lapping pretty solidly as well. But just behind him is Pyro, who seems to be doing a little bit better. Let's see what Pyro can do through the tight and twisty Sector 1. Mazda versus Mazda. I don't recall any team orders in the party chat. Pyro got a much better exit there, actually. Looks like he's a little bit more confident on the corners, especially with taking the curbs, Pagel. And everything's closing up nicely towards the end of this race, for P2 down at least. A lot of drivers who've made their pit stops are in the mix. Prime Call still fairly close to Kanata. Jezza still in the top 10. Deco also, but I'm a bit confused as to why he's so low down, Deco. Then we've got the guys who've had to come into the pits, like Ethan down in 12th, the Roticor's falling even further back down in 13th. Cameron was doing pretty well on the inter tyres, but he's down to 14th. Spin, who won the very first race of the season, having a disaster, and we saw Anonyma in the wars as well. He's actually really far off at the back, but let's see what's happening. It looks like the battle for the top between 2nd, 3rd and 4th is pretty close as we head into the final 2 laps of the race. Revenge going quickest once again, showing his very good pace around here. And the gap definitely closed through the first corner. Pagel seems to have dropped him a little bit, and there's a little train forming behind Pagel as well. So we've got Pagel, Pyro, Prime Call and Kanata all within shot right here. Prime Call actually got past Kanata. Let's see what happened, how that happened. So going into turn 1, it doesn't really look like a move is on. Kanata a little bit wide. Oh, nearly lost it. Saved it, but lost the position as a result, and Prime Call wasn't going to let that opportunity slide. So good bit of overtaking there for Prime Call. And now he's pretty close to Pyro. So this McLaren coming alive right now in these cool, slightly damp conditions. Yeah, the Mazda's struggling. The Mazda wasn't a very good car for this track in the end, actually. I can safely say. The pace just isn't there. Oh, a bit wide for Pyro on the entry. Again, just like he was with Kanata. Kanata had to back out of it a little more than Prime Call did though. So Prime Call might be teeing up a move through 130 yard as we head into the chicane. Pyro's getting benefited a lot by his teammate Slipstream. Oh, he's gone wide. He's gone wide. He's going to rejoin. That should be fine without a penalty. And he slots in just ahead of Prime Call, but he has to nail this exit or else Prime Call's going to get him on the run down to turn 1. We are about to head into the final lap. Nothing in turn 1. What about a bit further up? Looks like Revenge is up into second somehow, so we missed that. So how did he get Julio? So at the exact same place that we saw the battling with the cars further down. Revenge is teeing up a move on Julio. He's decided to go for it into the hairpin. Looks like he moved a little bit under braking and made some contact with Julio. Let's see that again, because that isn't good if that's happened. Yeah, look at his angle. You can't be doing that. You can't be doing that. It's completely squeezed Julio out of that corner, and Julio obviously is entitled to the space there. Little bit of contact, shoves him out the way, gets the position. That is a push to pass in my eyes. I don't think that one was sent to the stewards, but I would have voted to penalise that. Now he's got Peachy in his sights. Peachy defending as far right as he can go on the dry line. More contact. The exact same thing. It's the exact same thing as what he did to Julio. And we're on the final lap now. He's up to second. That's not good. That's really bad. That is intentional as well, to stop the other driver making the corner. So that one was in the stewards. Expect to see the outcome of that. And Peachy's dropped to 4th as a result, so really unfortunate for Peachy. These guys are title rivals in the championship battle. Peachy going from 16th on the grid up to 2nd in the race, and now he's down to 4th. He's not going to get a podium on track, at least, as it stands. Pagel, meanwhile, gets a bit of a bump from behind from Pyro, so Pyro's feeling like he's got a lot more pace, maybe getting held up by Pagel here on these last 3 or so laps. And yeah, they've both got fairly similar tyres. I think Pagel's is slightly more worn, actually. Prime Call still not able to do anything to get Pyro, but Kanata's having a bit of a look on Prime Call now. And it looks like he's going to get the position. Very, very good. Oh, actually, lose a bit of traction on the exit because he had to correct his car to avoid hitting Prime Call. Now there's going to have a drag race down to 130R. I think the BMW is going to start moving slightly ahead. They are very close together, these two, on acceleration. Looks like Pyro's off the track again. Prime Call, Kanata going side by side into the final chicane. Who's going to win out? Prime Call goes very deep. He actually makes the corner though, and he's going to get it. And now we're heading to the finish line, but let's rewind because we want to see Icy taking the victory on his very first race in ALR. Not many drivers can win on their debut, especially when the conditions are as tricky as this, but this Ferrari looked absolutely supreme. He's in a complete class of his own, and he gets the victory. Revenge is just ahead of Julio, so it looks like he's going to get P2 ahead of Julio. This will be Julio's first podium, and it could end up being a P2. We have to see what the stewards have to say about some of those incidents that Revenge been put for in this race. So 2nd Revenge, 3rd Julio. Peachy P4, unfortunate for him. Might still be a podium. P5 for Pagel, manages to hold off Pyro. Then Prime Call did get Kanata right at the end. Deco caught up to them very nicely in 9th. Senor Fag in the top 10 in the sprint race, so that's a good result for him. Jezza 11th, Eroticos 12th, Ethan 13th, Cameron down in 14th. Spin is going to finish 15th, and then quite a way back is going to be Anonyma. Unfortunate for him because he was doing pretty well at the start of the race, but just one too many mistakes. So that means your pole position is going to be Senor Fag just ahead of Deco and Kanata for the feature race. Kanata is the highest place driver who is in, I would say, maybe the top 5 of the standings. So he's got a great chance of getting that win, and I'm going to have to do a content search for the feature as well, which is unfortunate. Sometimes the game just doesn't show you your following replays. I don't know why. There we go. So Prime Calls was uploaded most recently, I think. There it is. So, we have a new winner in Tier 3. I think, is that the 5th different winner in 5 races? Let me double check. Yep, 5 races and 5 different winners. So the first race went to Spin, then Peachy won, then Eroticos won, then Revenge won, and now Icy's won. Or Emilike. Right, okay, this is much more treacherous conditions to start this race on. Let's see if okay, everyone's on the inters, it looks like. Going all the... Oh! Icy's on the mediums. Okay. So, a bit of a mistake from our race winner. I have a feeling he's going to fall to 16th by turn 3. I'll give him till turn 3. Right, let's get going. Actually, let's ride on board with Icy. I'm quite interested to see how this goes. Then we'll catch up with the leaders afterwards, if anything changed. Okay. On the mediums, we're definitely approaching wet weather tyres. So this is going to be a treacherous turn 1 for Icy. The other drivers aren't going to know that he's on the mediums, and immediately he's in the gravel. And there we go, he's in 16th. So, up ahead. Oh, looks like someone's in the wall. Was it Kanata? Right, what's happened with Kanata? He is taking turn 1. He's taking turn 2. Was it him in the wall? I think it was him. There we go. Yeah, just too much throttle on the exit whilst he was turning his car, and that's him down to 15th as well. As the heavy rain starts, and we are definitely entering wet weather territory here. I don't know how long this downpour is going to last, but this is great news for Deco, who's got absolutely no one in front of him to have to worry about. Yeah, Deco's holding Pyro back. Pyro's had a pretty good start up to 3rd. Going to be fancying potentially a race win here. Deco's all over the place. Pyro, it responds by having a twitch of his own. And they all enter the Degnas. Looks like Revenge is having... Oh dear, this was another one that was reported. Okay. So, Revenge gets past Pagel there by absolutely flooring it. And then gets the entry into Degna all wrong. He's going to lose... Yeah, what happened? Okay, let me tell you what happened here. So the entry into the Degna, Revenge makes a mistake. He loses a bit of traction under braking, can't brake it off. Now he's heading onto the slippery stuff right here. So he's slipping a little bit. Pagel's car's right there. He's going to pull alongside into that space on the right, and Revenge is going to try and rejoin the track because he's got absolutely no grip off the track, and then it just ends up punting Prime Call completely off the track. So that mistake on the entry into Degna is what caused all of that. Nothing else, I don't think, could have been avoided. Anyway, back to the front. Pyro's still stuck behind Deco. Fak has a fairly decent lead in that Renault. So good race at the moment for Fak. Deco maybe 3 or 4 seconds back at this point. Pyro's just tucked in behind Deco. Now we got Revenge up in 4th place after surviving the punting of Prime Call. So very similar to the previous race on how Revenge is progressing up the order. Oh, Pyro's very close to Deco, so he's had a great smooth. Now we're heading... Oh, Deco brakes so much earlier than Pyro. Pyro has to completely back out of it. Revenge is probably going to get Pyro as a result of that. And it's very difficult to know when the drivers are going to be braking for some of these corners. Almost a little bit of a love. Oh, Revenge completely messes up the exit, and that meant that Pyro had to slam on his brakes and Pagel behind him as well. But now Revenge is caught up to Deco really quickly. Deco must have had his own issues with traction further down the straight, and Deco is getting bumped by Revenge through turn 1. Again, unnecessary. And he's, completely out of shape on the exit as well, is Revenge. So Pyro's tucking up behind him. Again, great news for Fak. Someone's all the way at the back. Icy is still on the medium tyres. Is he coming into the pits? No, he's staying out by the looks of it on these mediums, and that is what's going to happen if you stay out. Anyway, Fak's off as well. Fak's off. Managed to save it, but some of that lead that he built up is under threat. Revenge just ahead of Deco. Deco's still very close to Pyro. Deco was kicking up some puddles there. There's about 10 cars in this little fight. Now the question is going to be for some of these guys, when is it going to be the right idea to pit? Oh, Deco's really lost traction there. Pyro's surely going to get that position finally. It's not Pyro, it's actually Pagel. Something's happened to Pyro. So Pagel's up into 3rd. Let's see what happened to Pyro. So these two all over the place once again. And then, Pagel just gets past his teammate because of it. So unfortunate for Pyro. Pagel, meanwhile, up into 3rd, so really taking advantage of what's gone on this opening lap and a half. And Senor Fak all over the place as well. He's lost his entire leads that he had over Mr. Revenge and the chasing pack. So all 15 drivers are on the back straight now. The only one who isn't is Icy, who's still struggling on his mediums. And they get through 130 all right. And is he going to go for it? I was going to say he's not close enough, but Fak goes a little bit wide onto the entry to allow Revenge the room, and now gets a better exit, so Fak keeps the position for now. Revenge in his slipstream. 2:21 is the quickest lap. And here we go, Revenge on the inside into the corner. Allows Fak the space that he didn't allow Peachy in the previous race and gets the position. Fak has to tuck up into P2 for now. And this might be a good opportunity for Revenge to just drive away, because Fak is going to start holding back Pagel by the looks of things. The track is drying pretty quickly. They're already 2 seconds up on their previous lap, so this is probably the one to come in to the pits for a new set of, well, probably medium tyres is what they'd want to go on. Excuse me. Oh, Pyro's lost it. Pyro has lost it. Let's see what's happened to him. Not under any pressure from anybody, and he's going to brake on. Well, he braked on the bloody grass there, and that is going to allow the entirety of the field down to 15th. Oh, apart from Julio, who is a little bit wobbly there. well, actually still overtakes Pyro despite that. And Cameron should overtake him as well, potentially. Oh, it looks like he's not gonna get it done. Meanwhile, Mr. Revenge still solidly ahead of Fak, Pagel and Deco in this top 4. Pyro's mistake has caused a little bit of a gap down to Peachy, who's now in 5th, ahead of Eroticos on his recovery from his poor sprint race. These two are championship rivals as well, so expecting Peachy to not give Eroticos an easy time here. A little bit further up, everyone's pretty close. 4 seconds up on the quickest lap. Looks like that is Revenge going wide, and Deco nearly losing it. Manages to get a hold of it again as we head into the final chicane. And no one's gone into the pits. Oh, here we go. Eroticos and Peachy and Spin have gone into the pits. So let's see. Peachy was the lead driver. If he just does a tyre change, he'll come out as the lead as well. And we're going to have to see what happens on the pit exit, because it's going to be a lot wetter on the pit exit than on the racing line. So he's got to make it to turn 1 in one piece. Here we go. Is he going to make it? Look how wet the gauge is, and it's going to go below 1/3 as soon as we get onto the dry line. Very ginger out of the pits. That's exactly what he needed to do. Up in a net P7 at the moment, has a great chance of doing a massive undercut on the 6 ahead of him. Kanata comes out just behind him, so we've got a BMW 7th and 8th at the moment. Jezza, hold on, let's see, is everyone on mediums? Ethan's gone out on the soft, so these are only going to last a couple of laps. And he's off track anyway. Everyone else looks like they're on the mediums. Eroticos went and put in loads of fuel as well, so he's dropped down to 11th as it stands. Julio also on the soft, so that's another mistake in my opinion. It's going to be a very short stint for these guys. Then Cameron out on the mediums, Pyro out a long way back on the mediums after we saw him in his trials and tribulations, and Icy, who hasn't actually come into the pits, isn't actually as far away from everyone as he should be after all those spins and everything else that we saw. So, look at the Inters, they are wearing incredibly quickly and in the hands of Mr. Revenge. I wonder if he is going to have enough in the bank to come out ahead of Peachy. He had a fairly decent lead, but he was very lucky to save that. I don't know how he saved it, to be honest. But he's lived to survive, and he is coming into the pits, cuts that line a little bit. I don't know if that's a 3-second penalty. Deco's going to follow him in, Prime Call as well, and here is Pagel. Dropped a little bit of time on those guys, and he's coming in P4, Anonyma in P5 as well, and then Senor Fak also in the pits. So let's have a look at Peachy, who's just coming round the corner now to see if he does get the mother of all undercuts on Revenge. Revenge looks like he's coming out of the pits now. You can see him quite far ahead, but Peachy's up into 2nd, so a decent result for Peachy, who overtook a lot of drivers by coming in and potentially has a shot at the victory. Although, yeah, it's looking pretty good for Revenge right now. Kanata slotting up into 3rd. Prime Call comes into 4th place, so a fairly decent result for him, getting ahead of all those drivers because he didn't put in any fuel. The highest driver who did put in fuel was Spin. He's got loads of fuel left in his tank, so he could have gone for track position and not been stuck behind these two. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do from here. We've got Eroticos in P7. Deco has put on the softs as well. Yeah, it's not going to work. And here's Julio on the what happened? What happened to Spin? We said we had to keep an eye on him, and as soon as we go off him, he makes a big error somewhere. So Degna 1, he takes it just fine. He does the exact same thing that we saw Pyro do a lap earlier. Too much curb. And there's Ethan joining in. Done the exact same thing again. And yeah, these guys are going to be battling for the dregs of the points today. There's Ethan waiting to rejoin. He's going to be last place. Revenge did get a 3-second penalty for quitting the pit entry. So this is great news for Peachy. Peachy, is that 3 seconds worth? Let's have a look, because Revenge is about to serve his penalty now. Let's see, that car of Peachy, that BMW, is approaching incredibly quickly. I think we're going to have a change of lead here. Oh! I don't know why he didn't go for it, but that is a huge get out of jail free card for Revenge. So we're heading to 130R. And yeah, he could have easily got that position. I don't know why he didn't. I mean, what was Revenge doing after this? Was he kind of trying to block him a little bit? Let's see what his steering inputs were. Yeah, he did move a little bit to the left there. But no, nothing wrong with that one. Peachy completely bottled it, actually. Bottled the opportunity to get the race lead there. You're not going to get too many gifts like that, even in Tier 3. That's allowed Kanata to really close up on Peachy as well. Peachy lost multiple seconds by doing that. Kanata 16 seconds quicker than his previous lap. So the quickest lap is set by Icy, a 2:04. He's made his way up into 14th place. He's stuck behind Spin and Cameron now, who we've seen both of them having incidents in this race. He's really fancying a go. He's going to try around the outside of Spin. This would be a great overtake if he manages it. Somehow has like a lot more acceleration at one point there, but couldn't do anything, and he gets, oh, he's in the gravel and he's losing more position. So just when it looked like things were starting to look up for Icy, he is back down to P15. Revenge is dropping Peachy pretty quickly there. And then let's see if there's any good battles going on. Battle for P5. Jez has done very well so far in this race. He's still up in P5. Got Deco, Eroticos and Julio stuck behind him at the moment. And yeah, Deco's trying things through the chicane, was trying to get a little bit alongside, but Jezza had a really good exit there and not under any pressure at the moment for an overtake in that Huracan. Now we're heading to Spoon. This is one of the trickier corners, even when it appears dry, because if you go a little bit offline, you're risking spinning the car there. Oh, a little bit deep on entry by Jezza. That's allowing Deco to get very close on the exit. This is a good opportunity for Deco to get the position. He's in the GR Super. He should have some extra beans on this straight, especially in the slipstream. Doesn't look like he's taking full advantage of the slipstream though. So overtakes maybe not on, but there is an overtake on for Eroticos and Julio. Julio on the inside, Eroticos having to tuck him behind. Guys are very, very close together right now. Lapping in the 204s, Revenge in the 202, so we know we can get to we're starting to approach the times set in the sprint race, although that 202 was set on medium tyres. That's an incredibly impressive lap there by Revenge. Oh, such a great entry into the Degness from Deco. And gets a little bump through the corner from Julio as well. I think Jezza really is starting to hold these guys up a little bit. Is Deco going to go for it into the hairpin? Not this time. Takes a much tighter journey through the corner. And a little bit too wide on the exit due to that tightness actually. And that gives Jezza a little bit of breathing space. Erotico's dropping a little bit off the back of these guys. Julio almost going off track there. Eroticos was really close to putting his tyres on the wet stuff on the entry into the corner. Got away with it. A little bit further back, Pagel is just in a solid P9 at the moment. Back, our pole sitter down in 10th, but a big gap behind him, so he's got a good opportunity for a top 10 here. Pyro struggling, still in 11th, Spin in 12th, Ethan is 13th, Icy is trying to battle his way back up. There's a spin for Spin, that's the second one of the race that we've seen from him. Ethan's off the track as well. Every time someone goes off the track, Ethan follows them. What's going on? so that was a free 2 positions basically for Icy, and he's got a bit of clear air in front of him to try and put in those laps. He had the fastest lap when the track was slightly wetter, going a bit wide there as well. Someone's kicked all of the braking markers and arrow boards all over the place. There you go. Still his fastest lap despite whatever that was. So, back at the front, I would say Revenge has maybe a 5 or 6 second lead at this point. Nice little red livery on this Nissan. Plenty of sponsors with red logos on there. And we got the worst livery ever conceived on a BMW. In second and third. So what's going to happen here, because Peachy and Kanata both have a fairly decent shot at the Drivers' Championship. As it stands, they'll have quite a comfortable lead in the Constructors because they're both capable of finishing in these high positions fairly regularly. But are we going to start seeing a little bit of action, because they're going to have to fight each other if they want to win the championship. There has to be one ultimate winner in the team battle. Primecall, meanwhile, isn't in the championship fight, but he's doing incredibly well today. Actually, he's full-time driver now, so he missed one round, but could potentially finish in the top 5 at the end. I don't know how many more rounds he'll miss towards the end of the season. Usually a reserve for us. And then Jezza, Jezza a little bit wobbly through 130R, allows Deco to get that position fairly comfortably, and the Toyota GR Supra up into the top 5 now. We know Deco is good at coming through the field in these feature races, and he's proving it again. Jezza now has Giulio stuck behind him. Giulio really showing his best pace in ALR to date here, making a lot of progress in the first race, and now he's looking to do the same in the second, with Jezza struggling a little bit at this point, lapping in the 205s and 206s the last 4 laps, when the pace really is multiple seconds a lap quicker. I think he's still driving a bit too gingerly on this surface, which is mostly dry now, especially on the racing line anyway. Oh, Giulio has given him a bit of a breathing space, because Giulio went a little bit wide on the exit of that last corner. Right, let's see what's happening a little bit further up. Battle for P2 still looking fairly tight. Great exit for Primecall compared to Kanata as we approach Spoon. Nothing going on just yet. Jez has actually caught up to Deco. Oh no, yeah, Jez has caught up to Deco. Deco's had a mistake somewhere as well. Very wide there for Pagel, but he survives. And something's happened to somebody. Maybe it hasn't. I think it might have been Eroticos. Something is about to happen to him here. Yes, I'm glad I rewound. Oh, that's really wide. And he's facing the wrong way. Where's Pyro? Pyro's going to cut to him very quickly here. And there's P10 for Pyro. So he's on the way back up. And back to where we were before that. He's still in 10th, chasing down Senor Fak. Icy up into 12th. Actually fairly close to Eroticos now. So Eroticos making mistakes both the sprint and feature. He is going to lose the lead of the championship because of this, because of these mistakes here. Icy really wide again, but yeah, it doesn't penalise you much if you go off there. You don't get a penalty either. Eroticos losing a lot of traction in between the chicane. Now, this is a great chance for Icy to get this position. Usually Eroticos is speaking in the chat. I have a feeling he might not be watching this one on purpose. Because this isn't his best drive. Really wide on the exit there for Eroticos, but yeah, he's done just enough to keep that position for now. Pyro's not too far ahead of them as well, actually. So Icy might be able to finish in the top 10 here. Still up on his quickest time, but it's only a 2:03 for Icy. He's got more time in the bag, but his tyres are starting to wear quite a lot. We are halfway through the race at the end of this lap as well. Oh, I thought that was going to be another one of those spins that we saw. He was braking on the wet stuff. Now it's all of a sudden a three-way fight because Eroticos has closed up very quickly to Pyro. Pyro's a little bit out of sorts here. I don't know why. There's no explanation tyre-wise. It's just a pace thing. Maybe not feeling comfortable pushing flat out like some of these other drivers are starting to do. Bit of a wide exit there from Eroticos. Revenge is in the pits. He was on soft tyres. That is why he was able to build a lead. So he's going to try and do mediums for the end of the race, I reckon. Looks like Julio has followed him off on the softs. So very similar strategies for Julio and for Revenge. Everyone else... Oh! Another mistake from Eroticos. That gifts the position to Icy. Now Icy's gonna try and chase down Pyro. Looks like Deco and Julio in the pits falling behind them, but Revenge is back out in P7 with some clear air on fresh medium tyres. He's got enough fuel for the rest of the race, so it's looking pretty good. And maybe going on the soft worked out perfectly for Revenge because he could he hit some clear air essentially. Now Senor Fak's been promoted up to 6th place, so he's back on the way up, as is Pagel. Jezza is still a solid P4 with Kanata, Prime Call and Peachy, who is now your race leader. So Prime Call's got past Kanata at some point. Let's rewind and see what happened. So Kanata loses traction and it's going to be fairly straightforward overtake for Prime Call here. Little drag race into turn 1. Prime Call's got the inside line and quite straightforward for the McLaren there. Meanwhile, fast forward back to where we were. Prime Call's still ahead of Kanata. Now it is a fight between himself and Peachy for potentially the final podium position. If he can chase down Peachy, this would be a double podium for Prime Call, which would be a great result for him if he manages to pull this one off. Now the question is, are these guys going to come into the pits yet? The tyres are starting to look a little bit worse for wear. There is a risk of coming out in traffic if you go in. They're both carried on. Kanata, meanwhile, has decided to come in. Then there's a big gap back to Jezza. Jezza is coming around the final bend now. He's carried on. Pagel's carried on. Looks like Senor Fak is also going to carry on. So they only want to do 8 laps. Then we've got Revenge, who should come out ahead of the guys who've come into the pits. Yeah, comfortably ahead because these guys are still putting in fuel, so that's up to P6 now for Revenge. And he really needs to not make a mistake at all, because he's got the tyre advantage on these guys, but he needs to build a fairly big gap if he's going to not get chased down by them, because they'll be on much fresher tyres come the end of the race. So it's Peachy versus Primecall right at the front. They were battling with Kanata. Kanata's come out in P7 behind Revenge, but with some clear air of his own. So Kanata could potentially jump both of these guys, depending on fuel and the rest of it. Here we go into the entry of Spoon. Looks very nice and tidy for Peachy. He's lapping in the 2-minute 4s, which I think for tyres that are this one is fairly decent pace. Yeah, he's only a quarter of a second off his own fastest time, which was a 4 flat. So this is on course to be a 2-4 as well, but I have a feeling we're going to see these two in the pits now. So the Estonian driver ahead of the British one. And it looks like the British one is actually carrying on. Primecall's going to be our new race leader. He wants to go a little bit deeper, potentially thinking about doing a soft stint at the end. So we're going to join Kanata now, who was battling. He was maybe a couple of seconds back on Peachy when he came into the pits. He's got 1 lap's worth of undercut. Peachy was lapping in the 2:04s. We're not going to know what this lap time was because it's an out lap. Peachy already putting in fuel. Looks like he's put in slightly less than what Kanata did. So we'll have to see. There's Peachy coming out, and it looks like Peachy's got enough. He's already in turn 1 actually, so a good in-lap for Peachy, and potentially better managing his fuel than Kanata brings him a good couple of seconds ahead and in a net P2. Still though, not the worst for Kanata, because Kanata should get an undercut done on Primecall, who's staying out much longer than him, and Primecall will have to get an overtake done on track if he wants a podium here. Kanata is going purple. We've got Deco just ahead of Eroticos. Eroticos in 8th place, hasn't made his pit stop, so he is out of position. He's a full pit stop down, and yeah, not looking good for our championship leader heading into the round. Julio, things are looking pretty decent for him. He's been overtaken by Deco in the pits though, but still on for potentially a top 5, I reckon. He is lapping pretty well now. Jezza, meanwhile, dropped down to 10th. He should get a few positions back through the pit phase, because we're still waiting to see some more pitting. And then Icy, after his pit stop, he's just ahead of Anonyma, who hasn't made a stop yet. So it looks like that was an overtake on track. And yeah, he's going purple as well. So really on a charge, a lot of these drivers. He's trying to close the gap to some of these other guys, maybe fancying a top 8 at the end, which would be pretty impressive. Primecall's in the pits. So he's come in the pits. We have to join Peachy and Kanata to see if he can get either of them. It's got a lot of fuel to put in, potentially another 35, no, maybe 30 to 35% he's going to put in right now. He hasn't started refueling yet, and we've got the M6s out of the final chicane coming round to the start-finish line now. Primecall put in quite a lot of fuel there actually, and he's coming out. It looks like he's behind Peachy. It looks like he might be just ahead of Kanata as we head into the corner, and Kanata, really brave on the brakes, gets the position. Let's rewind and see that from Kanata's point of view. So he's going to see, there's the McLaren just appearing on the right, and he's going to have to be very brave, and yeah, he just takes the corner a little bit conservatively, gives enough room for the car and gets that position, and now he can try and focus on getting that P2 from roadblocks. Meanwhile, right at the front, Hagel has stayed out another lap. He must be going for the softs. We know that Primecall went back onto the mediums. He should have the tyre advantage on Kanata, but we'll have to wait and see what happens between those two. Hagel has the opportunity to pit and come out on the softs. Revenge looks like he's got past a fairly slow-looking Senor Fak. He's lapping in the 206s, so not very comfortable at all in this Renault is Senor Fak. 6/10 down on this lap as well. Revenge absolutely flying, lapping in the 202s. Should comfortably win this race as it stands. And Pagel trying something completely different here. Quickly getting caught by Revenge. Pagel's basically a pit stop down on Revenge at this point. And he's a second and a half off his own quickest time because he's nearly in puncture territory on that front right. So I don't think this was a good strategy decision from Pagel. I think he'll come out potentially outside the top 10. He's carrying on again. What is going on with Pagel? Right, well, I'm expecting Revenge to catch up to him fairly soon. Fak surely is coming into the pit soon. He's carrying on again as well. So yeah, these guys definitely going for a soft tyre at the end. So how are the lap times looking? A 2:03 flat for Roblox, a 2.7 for Kanata, so 0.3 quicker. We don't know about Prime Call because he's just done his outlap, but 2.4 for Deco, so he's lapping pretty well. And the rain is out. Oh, and Deco's span, it looks like it's raining very heavy, very quick. Let's see what's happening at the front. Looks like Pagel's lost his lead in that downpour. It doesn't look like it lasted very long. It looks like the rainstorm's already stopped again. No, there's absolutely, definitely more rain. I take that back. This is going to be super difficult for these guys. Prime Call's gone off, as has Peachy, so Peachy's lost a couple of places there. Julio just ahead of Jezza. Deco 9th and Dorotikos in 10th, so this is not good news for a lot of these guys. Looks like Revenge is driving away from Pagel at the moment. Good news for Pagel is that his tyres aren't going to be wearing anymore at least, but one tyres in these conditions is super difficult. Kanata now, it's looking very good for a P2. Oh, is he though? Well, yeah, he's gonna get going. The yellow flags have come out. Oh, Jez has gone for it on Julio, and there's a spinning car. Oh yeah, Jez gets a 3-second penalty for overtaking onto yellows. Julio, oh my God, what is going on? What? Right, let's ride on board in the heavy wet with Prime Call. He's gonna try. Yeah, he went full throttle in first gear on a wet track. That's never gonna work. And then, yeah, what is going on? The two McLarens are forming a roadblock on the track. Make a bit of contact with each other. There's going to be some more, and then Prime Call gets going. Julio. Oh dear, this is bad. This is a disaster for two drivers whose race was going so well there. They've just gifted positions to multiple drivers. Jez is going to have to serve a 3-second penalty. Peachy, Fak, and Pagel are side by side. Peachy's about to just swoop past them both. Their tyres and just everything is not going well for these two. Pagel had a huge gap on Fak before the rain started coming down, and he's completely lost it all. Now they're going to come in for soft tyres for the end of the race at least, and they'll have a pace advantage, but that's probably going to be too little too late for these guys. Jez has served his 3-second penalty, and he's still not that far behind them. Still ahead of Deco. So yeah, this is a disaster. Pagel is surely coming into the pits now. If they'd have pit a lap earlier and gone onto the softs, they'd be in a much better position. Because their tyres wouldn't have worn at all on that lap. They'd have avoided ruining their whole race by spinning on worn tyres on a wet track as well. Meanwhile, at the front, it is still pretty wet, but now it is manageable for the medium tyres. This is great news for the guys who pit early, like Kanata, because his tyres aren't going to really wear at all in these conditions. Whereas if it had continued to stay dry, they'd be struggling a lot more than other cars by the end of the race. So, a bit of a good fortune for Peachy because Prime Call had that spin and then really struggled to get back going again. And Jezza is all of a sudden P4 because of Julio and also Prime Call having their issues. He also had a 3-second penalty to serve, so he should be even closer to Peachy, to be honest. So this would be by far Jezza's best result. On his return to Tier 3, he is the Tier 4 champion. A little bit of rain does mix up the audio, love to see it. Looks like Icy's having a go at Eroticos here. He's got the inside line as we head into the hairpin. Is Eroticos going to go for it? Eroticos just gives up on that position. He knows that Icy has a little bit too much in the bank at the moment. So Pagel's 11th. Pyro's been all over the place because he's dropped down to 13th. He set 2:34 on that previous lap, which is a lot slower than what other people were doing. Cameron and Ethan, the two Jags, really struggling in these conditions as well. So we've got 4 laps left, and there's not too much in terms of battling going on. Deco looks like he is starting to catch back up to Jezza. Then we've got the two McLarens trying to recover as much as they can. Both of them look like they could have potentially had podiums here. But that is the nature of the beast when it comes to wet weather. And this man who started on the mediums on a fully wet track has only done a 1-stop. And we've seen him spin, we've seen all sorts, but he's still in 8th place because of basically the mistakes of everyone else. He's made fewer mistakes, and also he's got a clear pace advantage on these guys as well. And that's why we decided to move him up into Tier 2. It's going to be full-time in Tier 2. We're just waiting to see what car he wants to drive for the season. There's a few quick ones still available, like the GR Supra. Hope he doesn't pick that, to be honest. Right, Eroticos is fancying a move on him, though. He's on the soft tyres, Eroticos, so he should find it fairly easy to get a move done. He does have a huge pace advantage, it looks like. Yeah, definitely. And he's got super fresh tyres compared to Icy as well. He's going to go for it into the Degner. No, he decides not to. It's very difficult following a car and staying on the dry stuff, and especially when you've got a clear pace advantage on them. Eroticos going purple at the moment. Surely a soft shod car is going to set the fastest lap in this race. It's not going to go to someone who's been on mediums. Well, Fak has also come out in 10th ahead of Pagel, so they're both on the soft tyres now. So Pagel really burned through his fuel in that Mazda. It's quite easy to do. Meanwhile, Eroticos pretty close again to Icy. If he's going to get a move done, he needs to be fairly brave, I think. The track is still a little bit wet on the racing line, even more wet off the racing line. Icy goes a little bit defensive into 130R. They both make it through the corner. Actually, they don't. Icy goes off, but then rejoins right in front of Eroticos. Bit of a dodgy rejoin there. That wasn't the best, I don't think, from Icy, and that actually keeps his position. It also lets Fak overtake Eroticos now. So Fak up into P9 ahead of his teammate. We'll see if team orders come into play there. Well, a little bit further up, Julio is losing a bit of ground to Prime Call, his teammate, who's trying to catch it to Deco. Deco, meanwhile, very, very close to Jezza now. Jezza driving very consistently in this race. Not seeing him make any huge mistakes like everyone else, and he's going to get rewarded with a big points haul by the looks of things, as long as he can last another 2 and a bit laps. Yeah, he's definitely trying to stay off the rumble strips. I think you can maybe start thinking about hitting the rumble strips on some of these corners. God, that Toyota sounded like starting a Hoover then. tighter entry into Spoon from Deco lets him close right up, and if he gets a good exit here, this should be where the overtake gets done. We know the Lambo isn't that great in a straight line, and we're seeing that now because the Toyota's got the slipstream. He should be able to get alongside into 130. He's got the inside line. Jezza is gonna be... Oh, that's a great corner from Jezza. Keeps P4. That was perfect. He couldn't have done that corner any better to keep that position. And he survives, and he's got 2 more laps to keep this P4. So far so good for Jezza. Now Prime Call's getting in on the action. A little bit further down, Icy is pretty much on his own ahead of Senor Fak, and then Erotico's right behind him, and Pagel also right behind. All these cars on soft tyres. Then down we've got Spin, Pyro, Cameron, Ethan, and Anonymous unfortunately is last again. Kanata completely on his own. Peachy's not been able to catch him at all. Then there's quite a big gap to Jez. This is where the fun is, so let's keep with this little battle. These guys still trying to relearn where to take the racing line around the first sector. It is pretty difficult. We're approaching completely dry conditions once again as we head to the final stages of the race. Someone is off. It's Kanata. He's going to lose P2. What's happened? It was looking so comfortable for him. Yeah, the same thing that we saw with Pyro, the same thing that we saw with Spin, the same thing that we saw with Ethan has happened now to Kanata. That should have been a comfortable P2, but instead he is going to have to settle for 3rd behind his teammate by the looks of things. Fortunate for him, Jezza has been holding up nicely some of these drivers. So that Kanata can try and get back going again. Not come under any threat. Looks like Deco's got a bit of a run on the Lambo. Ooh, a little bit wide there for Deco for no reason at all, but he's got a run and he's gonna try. No, he breaks just in time. Just goes a little bit wide as a result. And again wide. This is a good chance for Deco if he nails the exit here to get the position. Jezza might have to go defensive into 130R again with his aggressive braking. It's very similar, but Deco is slightly ahead and he's going to get the position. Jezza might lose a second one here to Prime Call. Oh, he's going to try and hold it and he backs out completely. Oh, gives Julio a little nudge off. Not much he could do there with the angle that he was going into the corner. That's 2 positions lost now for Jezza. It might actually be a 3rd as we're finally heading into the final lap of the feature race. Still, P6 will be pretty solid for Jezza if he keeps hold of this. Ooh, Julio definitely has the pace on him. Looks like Prime Call might be fancying a go at Deco here, and Kanata's not completely out of the woods yet either. Prime Call definitely should have had a podium out of this. With his spin outside, out of the hairpin, he's going purple as well. He could have even set the fastest lap if he didn't have Deco in front of him. He's really fancying it. Erotico's on his softs does look like he's about to set the about to get the fastest lap point at least. Oh, they both brake way too late for the Degnas. Prime Call manages to save him his result a little bit better than Deco's. Now Deco's potentially losing that P6 to Jezza. Jezza's got a great exit out of the Degnas, and he's got the position going into the corner. Deco's going to have to really back out of it because Julio's there as well that he's going to have to think about defending from, and he's just going to lose that position super easy actually. So Julio up into P6 as well. Everything's happening on this final lap, but we're going to have to rejoin at the front because we're going to have to give props to the pace of Mr. Revenge today. He's going to take quite a commanding victory. So both the sprint and the feature very dominant, which we've seen before in Tier 3 in round 1, but different drivers dominating the sprint and the feature. So in round 1 it was Spin in the sprint and Peachy in the feature. Today it is Icy in the sprint, and Revenge is going to take the 2nd win of the season for him, the first Tier 3 driver to take 2 wins in this season. And then we got Peachy, pretty fortunate in the end to be picking up some extra points from all of the carnage around him, but he's just kept his head down and made no mistakes. and Peachy is going to rise to second in the championship behind Mr. Revenge. As it stands, Kanata a really solid third place, could have been second. Prime Call recovers to fourth, another one who could have had a podium. Jez is going to hold on to fifth ahead of Julie, and then Deco right behind. Then Icy with his audacious one stop on a wet track stays eighth. Eroticos gets ninth. Senor Fac gets 2 top 10s. Should be pretty proud of that. Pagel down in 11th at the end with completely dead softs. Spin is going to be a long way back and finishing in 12th place. The man who should have been a championship contender, I reckon, just made a lot of mistakes in these last couple of rounds. Had a DNF as well due to his internet, so it's not really it's kind of gone from very good to very bad for Spin. Pyro's championship, well, he was out of fuel. Pyro's out of fuel, but it doesn't matter if he would have finished 13th no matter what. Ethan 14th, just ahead of his teammate in 15th, not having a good season in the Jag. And then Anonyma is going to finish 16th for the second time today. No points today for Anonyma. And that's it. That's your lot for today. Thanks for joining. That was an interesting one. Next week we're at my favourite circuit, Watkins Glen. So yeah, join us for some